I was first introduced to GERDS through a podcast that I had just randomly decided to listen to one day at a time that I really needed to hear what the message was. Um, I had done a lot of work personally on growth and overcoming trauma over a period of 10 years or so. I felt like I was at a really good place. And then I had a personal situation happened with a family member where, long story short, my perception of them just completely changed in the matter of one evening. And it really triggered a lot of anxiety and a lot of fears inside of me that I thought that I had worked through. Um, and I was driving home from that family event, and it was about an 8-hour road trip ahead of me. I was by myself, so of course in the car I'm overthinking, I'm listening to sad songs, and I had decided to listen to a podcast by Kelly Mason, the Limitless Soul podcast that Gerds was a guest on, and I had just randomly selected her episode. And I think that Bird's experience in the medical pharmaceutical journalism world, this like corporate American world, and then transition over to a more holistic, empath driven empowerment coaching type career. And that was built off of all of the lessons that she had worked through herself, really resonated with me. um and yeah, just I took a lot from that conversation that Gerds and Kelly had. And later that evening when I got home, I kind of had decided to work with her before I'd even met her. I journaled that I was going to find her website and I was going to see how I could get in contact. And I was really excited about it. I also journaled like a handful of other things that I was going to make happen for me over the next like few months. Um, and yeah, that next morning I found Gerds' website. I filled out the application, and within a matter of days, we had coordinated time to first meet and have that complimentary introduction call. And on that call, there was just a sense of security and support that she gave. And I'm a very it, it's very difficult for me, or it has been in the past, to be vulnerable and trust other people and trust like an outside third party source that I don't know. With my own growth opportunities, I think I've always tried to master that by myself, whether it be through education or just different holistic practices that I incorporated in my life. And yeah, I was just at a point where doing it by myself and doing it alone like wasn't enough. And I really felt the connection and yeah, just the connection and the space being held by Gerds. And so that encouraged me to start working with her and to embark on, our 4-month journey. The biggest growth for me over the last 4 months definitely came from a sense of letting go in terms of control and opening myself up more to receive. Um, and I think that really goes back to the idea too of being vulnerable, and choosing to work with someone and to trust someone. And in return, that also allowed me to trust myself in a lot of ways. Uh, so yeah, I think there have been so many wonderful side effects, or just domino effects of the overarching theme of, yeah, of surrendering a bit more and welcoming um what's meant for me, and just receiving what's there, and trusting, myself. Yeah, I think that's the biggest growth. My story, I think, is it's kind of a combination of the control and the go-getter mentality that I had, with the assistance of, yeah, maybe setting all of these goals that I had set at the beginning when I sought out to work with Gerds, and then having her guidance to help me in confirming that those goals were aligned with what was meant for me, and what I felt deep inside made sense and spoke to me. And then also just, then surrendering that expectation and allowing things to come naturally. So, uh, for example, before I was feeling really drained, I didn't have a lot of boundaries emotionally. I would absorb a lot of other people's emotions. I would take on other people's problems as my own. I would people please. I was much more focused on, and I still do really value connections and relationships, but I think I heavily focus those relationships on like how I could benefit the other person, or how I could understand the other person, rather than allowing myself to also be other understood. Like I was focused on, what can I do for other people, which is powerful, but at the same time, it can be really draining when you don't necessarily have a means of boundaries. So I think now I have much better boundaries. And with that, I was able to restore a lot of my energy, and recharge a lot of, um, yeah, a lot of ability. I applied all of that towards school. I'm in school now. I applied that towards getting over, painful relationships, or difficulties that I've been holding on to from the past. And that really opened me up to be able to build a better, more clear relationship with myself, and with others. I love the accountability and the understanding. I think what was really special about the way we worked together was the structure of GERS's program, um, and how it's meant to guide you further into yourself, to help release things that you may be holding on to that are holding you back. But at the same time, she was so intuitive and picked up on certain areas that maybe I needed to focus on a bit more, or maybe needed a little bit more time to open up through. And so the program was tailored a bit as well, so that we could spend that extra time. It was just very personalized. And it comes across very clearly that it's meant to support you. And that's truly her goal. Um, yeah, I think that the structure of it, the time that we spent together, the integration periods in between our sessions together, they all really allowed me to digest the conversations, the information that, we was being shared, and we were having back and forth, and apply that in my day-to-day life. So I do feel like, although we only worked together for 4 months, the lessons that came out of that, the realizations, whether they were easy or they were tough, they were sustainable. They've definitely integrated themselves into my life over that period of time, and I can feel that it'll continue and stay with me as I go forward. So when I was working with GERDS, it was so helpful to be held accountable and asked to slow down, and asked to take a breath, and asked to release control over the process. So, when you're doing the work yourself, you have control over it. You're choosing the articles you read, you're sitting down and reading them. When working with GERDS, I just had to sort of release and let her guide me, and trust that, yeah, just trust that I was being guided to the place I needed to be. And I think that allowed me to tap inward too, with my own body, and become less in my head, if that makes sense. Take a moment, to then be prompted by you through the application. Answer the questions. Some of the application questions that I filled out, they really caused me, even, just those introductory questions, to look further and dive further into what my initial intention was, which I thought was great. And yeah, to take that complimentary call with you. And if they feel that sense of safety and security, and they feel that sense of trust, which, I'm sure they will. I think that after that point, make the decision, work together, be vulnerable, and express what you want out of it, but then release that expectation and allow yourself to be guided and allow yourself to receive.